On July the 4th, 1976, the United States celebrated its 200th birthday.
In my family, that's always been a custom on the 4th of July to read the Declaration of Independence out loud. It's quite a document, the soaring beauty of it.
Americans had not stopped believing in their nation's ideals, but not even the bicentennial could conceal a certain national discomfort. After a series of domestic and international crises, Americans were no longer so sure of themselves.
It was difficult. We've got an unelected president. We've got Nixon pardoned, hanging over us. We've just lost a war, but we were celebrating our 200th birthday. Everybody wanted to be positive, and they were. It was a night of reconciliation with our country.
Many Americans hoped that this celebration of a glorious history would spark an American renewal.
My family was an immigrant family. We came here with practically nothing. My wife was expecting. It was important for me personally that my child was a child of 1976. All the hopes and dreams that I had for myself and my country were with him.
I believed that America was going to turn around and become the land of the free and the home of the brave, and that she was going to come back to being that nation of glory. I believed it with all my heart.
In the late 1970s, there was an uneasy feeling that perhaps the nation's best days were over. America's prestige in the world had been tarnished in the Vietnam War. The Watergate scandal had eroded people's respect for their own leaders, and the 1973 oil embargo had sapped the economy, causing a baffling combination of high inflation and high unemployment. Faced with these setbacks, which thwarted expectations and undermined many dearly held beliefs, Americans began to pursue separate individual paths to happiness. And in the process, they lost a clear sense of national purpose.
Can our government be decent and honest and purposeful and compassionate and filled with love? Can it be a source of inspiration and pride?
In the 1976 presidential race, an obscure candidate tried to restore trust in government.
My name's Jimmy Carter. I'm from Georgia. I'm going to be your next president.
You hope.
I hope.
My mother had said to me all along, he's going to be president. And I said, Mom, I said, I've never lied to you. He said, he's going to be president. I see it.
Jimmy Carter was a one-term governor of Georgia and a peanut farmer from the town of Plains. With his strong Christian faith and sense of moral rectitude, he represented the traditional values that so many Americans seem to have lost touch with in a decade of upheaval. But even as he campaigned against the mistrusted Washington establishment, he faced an uphill battle against voter apathy, especially among the young.
We didn't care about who was elected president. As a matter of fact, most of my friends, most of the people I hung out with, our interest in politics waned incredibly starting in the early 70s because we had lost the big cause, which was the Vietnam War.
Let us create together a new national spirit of unity and trust.
But like explorers of unmapped territory who longed for the familiarity of home, Americans elected a president who represented traditional small-town values, Jimmy Carter. On Inauguration Day, the new president set out to prove that all Americans were his neighbors.
Well, this is a first. The president and his wife out of the car walking their support.
We had never seen the president get out and start walking down, Pennsylvania Avenue, and the people just screamed, and we was cheering on the TV.
Talking about it being the people's inauguration. He wants to be with the people. He is one of the people.
It was very refreshing. I think President Carter brought to this country a whole feeling of hope.
Hopeful as it was at the start, the new administration was about to face a series of debilitating challenges. In 1977, the nation suffered through the coldest winter in 40 years.
We were buried for weeks in Niagara Falls. We built tunnels all through our yard, so it looked like a mouse's maze underground that led to the street, although we didn't know where the street was until we hit the curb. The first couple of days, it was okay, but then after that, the store had no supplies, and so it was much more difficult to get food and stuff for the kids and the family.
The extremely cold weather this winter has dangerously depleted our supplies of natural gas and fuel oil and forced hundreds of thousands of workers off the job.
President Carter flew to Pittsburgh to show his sympathy with those put out of work by energy shortages. The continuing crisis, he said, meant sacrifice for the entire country.
If we can get everyone in this country to cut down drastically on heat consumption, we can keep tens of thousands of Americans employed. Now, I've got on heavy underwear, and the White House is cold inside, but we've gotten accustomed to it. And I hope that all the people in this country will realize that we're in it together.
The American belief that nature could supply and sustain limitless industrial expansion was severely shaken in the 70s.
A lot of Americans have known nothing but growth, 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 growth. And we come to think of the United States as invulnerable. And we suddenly found out that we were much more vulnerable than we had ever thought possible.
In the 1970s, the United States found itself squeezed not only by energy shortages, but by old adversaries. West Germany and Japan were now challenging American competitiveness in everything from steel to electronics. It was hard to get used to, especially in Detroit. Ever since the end of World War II, Americans' love of big cars had made Detroit the heart of a massive industrial surge which lifted millions of Americans into the middle class.
I thought the world had opened up for me because I had an automobile job. They were hiring the unemployables. We really could get a job to get that American dream, to get a house, to get a brand new car, to really be able to take care of your family.
The car industry in America built cars for Americans. And Detroit said, you will buy what we produce. We know better than you do what you want, and therefore we'll produce what we know you want, and then you'll buy it.
They just kept building those big, huge cars. An average car was receiving somewhere between 10 and 8 miles per gallon.
This is LeBaron.
I own one myself.
With the character of a
I used to pull it up in my driveway and go in the house, and I could listen, and it'd still be drinking gas while it's parked.
But German and Japanese state-of-the-art factories were turning out small, fuel-efficient cars with unexpected zip.
The Rabbit, quicker from 0 to 60 than a Jaguar XJ6M.
People like myself at the time were really attracted to these cars.
The new Datsun 200SX, 5-speed stick, 4-wheel disc brakes.
This was good stuff. Besides which, the cars ran great, they had good fuel economy, and the quality was top-notch.
By 1979, foreign cars had captured 25% of the American automobile market. To make matters worse, government regulations on safety, mileage, and emissions had sent the big three automakers reeling. Chrysler had acres of unsold cars and was struggling for survival.
I relied on Chrysler for a job, and it was gonna never end. Well, it did end.